Chaos theory deals with unpredictability in complex situations. This show deals with complexity in unpredictable situations. It's a subtle but important difference. This is Vaguely Scientific. Life finds a way. I am Derek. If Vaguely Scientific breaks down, Jim doesn't eat the tourists. Hi, Jim.
We just had a whole episode about cannibalism.
We did. And your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if our guest this week is Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello.
Sorry, I just now read that as you were going.
It's a very dumb soundbite, but I stick by it.
It's very good.
This is the show where listeners send in questions to hear our vaguely scientific answers, and who knows, we might even get some of those answers right. But first, it's time for the fun science fact of the day, Jim.
Okay. The Volcanic Explosivity Index is a scale used to measure the intensity of a volcanic eruption. The scale ranges from 0 to 8, and to give you some kind of a sense of what that scale actually is, the 1980 Mount St. Helens eruption rates a 5 on that scale, and the 1991 Mount Pinatubo eruption is a 6. The last 8 on the scale was about 27,000 years ago in New Zealand, and this created an ash cloud that extended around much of the southern hemisphere.
So there's a pretty big difference between a 6 and an 8 then.
Yeah. Eights are going to be like your super volcanoes.
Aha. That's like earth-changing level of...
Yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the other more recent 8s on the scale was something called the Toba eruption. And there's a theory that the Toba eruption was responsible for a population bottleneck in humans, where humans almost went extinct. Because of this eruption.
When was that?
That was, I want to say, like 75,000 years ago or so.
Huh. Well, I wouldn't remember that.
No. No, that was a little bit before your time.
Well, speaking of things that are before my time.
Oh,
whoa,
nice.
Thank you, Jim.
That's a good one.
That was a good one. Why don't we move on to our first question this week, which is... which species of dinosaur would cause the most havoc on our ecosystem if we brought it back to life now?
I like the word havoc, just as a side note.
It's very good.
Whoever sent this in, that was a good word choice.
This one I don't have a name attached to.
This might not be as surprising as I feel like it was to me as I realized it, like in real time. I feel like none of the big dinosaurs would cause that much havoc.
Interesting.
Because large animals are generally fairly small in number. Like, even before humans came along, you didn't see, like, millions and millions and millions of elephants. They had a smallish population relative to, like, say, the number of mice that are out there or the number of beavers.
Interesting.
And so the larger animal you get, sort of the higher up the food chain almost, you might say, you're going to have fewer of that population.
Yeah, well, smaller animals tend to have bigger litters, too.
That's true, too. I'm not sure how that is with dinosaurs, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was similar.
Egg-laying, mostly egg-laying. So.
Yeah.
That was my initial reaction, too, was that, one of the big dinosaurs is going to cause a ton of havoc.
Yeah.
But, like, they might make a big dent initially, but it won't last long.
Yeah.
Because I asked one of my friends about this, and they said probably a Microraptor.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not even a meter long. So they come up to about your knees.
They're like chickens.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're carnivorous, and they have... Since there's so many different types of Microraptors, we have a lot of preserved remains of them. So we've found like fish scales and mammal bones and a ton of stuff in their stomachs when we dig up the fossils. So I feel like if we revived one of the Microraptors, it would just decimate everything in the food chain beneath it. And it might even start going after stuff bigger than it too.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I was thinking about the things that we view as big problems for our ecosystems now.
Okay.
And one of the things I was thinking about was cats, because really anywhere where humans have introduced cats, they start to become sort of an invasive species. They hunt birds, they hunt small things, and feral cats are sort of a big problem in a lot of places.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, like you said, a microraptor would maybe be sort of the equivalent of like the feral cat population, where they're small, they're quick, they are going to be eating other animals like birds and mice and such. So I really agree with you on that one. I think that's probably a pretty solid choice.
And it's not even just feral cats either. There's if you have a house cat that likes to go outside, they still wreak havoc on local mice and birds populations.
Let me jump off there, because that almost gets to a point that I wanted to make, that there's two kind of speculative directions I went in this, which are a little born out of ignorance, but that's okay. Because I was thinking of the scene in one of the Jurassic Park movies when they brought the T-Rex into the city. I don't remember if I think that's the second one.
Maybe?
I don't remember.
I don't think I ever saw the first one.
But so the question, which species of dinosaur would cause the most havoc? If you ended it right there, you could argue one of the big ones could cause a ton of havoc. And in the same way that like a house cat could go out and kill a bunch of the small rodents in your yard or something. And we would argue that's a very immediate action. But the fact that it's the ecosystem.
Right.
If it were to come back right now, like I would argue if there were a brontosaurus in, I don't know, downtown Pittsburgh, it's going to wreck whatever ecosystem does exist there, but it's not going to do like long sustaining damage to it.
Right.
But the other direction that I kind of wanted to explore, and we talked about this a long time ago when we talked about earthworms, that earthworms technically in the United States are all an invasive species, or were originally. And I think our ecosystem now would be completely altered, but in 100 years or so, like things would adapt. And that, I mean, I guess that's the whole life finds a way quote.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of interesting, is like what would wreak havoc now, but also then how would it change?
Right. Yeah.
So a fun thing with that I just learned the other day is the spotted lanternfly. So those are everywhere, and they're starting to travel out. Where I work, we just had a couple people come in. It's like, hey, you're next to a forest. Can we go look for egg clusters of these spotted lanternflies? It's like, yeah, go for it. Get rid of them if you see them. Let us know if you see them.
Bring a blowtorch.
Yeah. So let us know if you see them, and we'll try to watch for them and take care of them too. It's like, we just want rid of them. And one of my coworkers asked, well, what is our ecosystem trying to like take care of them? And it's like, since they are brightly colored, they're a little bit, most insect predators, are apprehensive to eat them because they're brightly colored. But like praying mantis, they don't care at all. It's like, ooh, more food, I'm going to eat it. And then they don't die, so they just keep eating it.
So let me ask this question, and this is a very half-formed question. But when I think of bringing dinosaurs back to life, I think of the big ones.
The ones worth bringing back to life.
The ones worth bringing back. But, well, here's the thing. We got two very distinct categories of, and Allie will be mad at me, but I'm lumping all the non-dinosaurs together with dinosaurs. I'm thinking Jurassic Park dinosaurs. So some of them that I mentioned may not actually be dinosaurs. I don't know. Pterodactyl, for example, right? But there are the herbivores and the carnivores, right? And so we all think of the T-Rex, but I think of the Brontosaurus and Triceratops. These are herbivores, still going to cause a lot of damage, going to eat a lot of plant life, but at the same time, are they going to then provide food for the existing predators?
I see. Yeah.
Like what? I guess wolves don't necessarily feed on big prey like bison or anything, but like wolves are dying out.
Yeah.
Would they have a chance of like having more food? I don't know. Probably not.
Or any of the other big cat species like tigers or lions, would they put in the effort to kill a triceratops?
I mean, that's fair because they had a hard time eating mastodons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I find most interesting about this question is the fact that, like, I feel like there's like a big blind spot in our knowledge of middle-sized dinosaurs because we all went straight to like the Microraptors or like the Triceratops, and there have to be some middle-sized dinosaurs in there.
Well, yeah, the baby big ones.
Yeah, right. And I feel like I should know some of them, but I cannot tell you for the life of me a middle-sized dinosaur.
Well, I can't remember what it is actually called, but the thing that most people think of when they think of a velociraptor.
There is that 6-foot like raptor creature thing, right?
Yeah.
That's on the big end of raptors though. Like most raptors were quite small.
Yeah, but I don't know that we have like when you say like medium-sized dinosaur, I'm thinking smaller than an elephant, so maybe like rhinoceros sized, which is still a big animal.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there aren't really any that are that size. Like cows, for example, are a very in between dinosaur size.
I always feel like it's worth mentioning when talking about dinosaurs, bringing up a stegosaurus, and the spikes on their tails are called a thagomizer.
Oh yeah,
because of Far Side Comics.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
Well, I like it, Derek.
I think it's fun.
I'm just doing dick. You gotta when people make puns, you have to groan. Even though actually most people do like puns, I'm calling everyone out.
I did a poll recently, and it turns out 100% of people in a tent were upset.
That I don't agree with. You're going to the sin bin.
I'm trying to find other types of velociraptors, and I'm not really finding much in brief glancing. It looks like most of them are less than a meter. Not most, but like they are a medium-sized dromaeosaurid. So they're like 1.5 to 2 meters tall.
My gut says that it's going to be the small ones, though, because like you don't ever think of a rhinoceros being destructive to its ecosystem, but raccoons, the trash panda.
Yeah. Well, you got to think the faster reproducing is what makes a species more harmful than anything else. Like a single individual lion can come in and kill a bunch of wildlife, but it's just one cat.
Yeah.
But like mice, if mice get into your house, even if it's not an ecosystem, if you have mice in your house, the reason they're such a problem is they reproduce so quickly that you're always going to have mice.
Yeah. And the large dinosaurs do not reproduce fast.
They must not.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's a big part of it. The other thing I was thinking about is that the bigger the animal, the easier it would be for animal control to come in and find it. You know, we're never going to have enough people to come around and round up all the cats, like all the feral cats. Like that's just not going to be practical for time, for energy, and they're just small. Like they're the size of they're smaller than a bread box. You could put a cat in a bread box.
Nobody uses bread boxes anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I don't own a bread box, but you could put a cat in one.
I mean, that calls back to the lanternfly that we talked about. Like people going out and crushing lanternflies isn't really doing much.
Yeah. Right? It helps, but it's not enough. Not
to like curb the population. Like they're just here, I think.
Yeah. But like if you had released an untamed population of T-Rexes into the wild, for instance, because that's a big one, I think you could go around with a helicopter and like tranquilize them let's say tranquilize, because I feel like being kind to the T-Rexes. But you could round up all the T-Rexes in like an afternoon.
I mean, yeah, like they're not hard to find, and they don't have the instinct. You got to imagine they don't have the instinct to hide.
Right.
Like they're not used to. That's the other thing that I didn't really put a lot of thought into until you started on this topic. But like, I'm looking at natural ecosystems here, and we're looking at today's ecosystem right now. And depending where you are in the world, like humans definitely are a factor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should bring back the saber-toothed tiger.
It'd be fun. More
That's
big
not
cats.
a dinosaur. More big cats.
I mean, the thing is with the saber-toothed tiger is it's not all that different from things that we have right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you could throw a saber-toothed tiger into certain ecosystems and it would probably be okay. The bad news is that many of our big cats are critically endangered.
Yeah.
Which is not a catchphrase, I promise. I'm not trying to make that my catchphrase.
You have a lot of unintended catchphrases, I think.
Yeah.
The critically endangered on the new and now a design in the Vaguely Scientific store.
Hey, I've got a weekend to kill.
So many dinosaur skeletons that we have are just wrong because people were idiots.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying Brontosaurus. The Brontosaurus one of the ones that is real?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it was.
Hold on, I'm going to look this
So
up.
technically, I think someone decided to name a different dinosaur Brontosaurus like in 2015 or something. So there is like a Brontosaurus now, but it's not the same one we grew up with.
Yeah, they used the name for a thing that does exist.
Mm-hmm. Which is a confusing and bad idea.
Yeah, they just wanted to, it's in the same line of the people who advocate making Pluto a planet just cuz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I am also learning that a lot of the dinosaur names are just cool. Like I knew T-Rex was like king lizard sort of thing. But I'm looking up more of them and I didn't realize Brontosaurus was thunder lizard, and that's just awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought dinosaur was, or that's
terrible lizard.
Terrible lizard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I don't think they're terrible.
Well, I think terrible as in like terrifying. Like the archaic definition of terrible,
the
not
original.
The modern. Yeah.
Another one that I like was Microraptor is a tiny plunderer.
That's so
good.
accurate.
Yep, that one is great.
I want to know what Dimetrodon is.
There's speaking of raptors too, there was another one I found that was Utah Raptor, and that one's not as fun.
Oh, I guess Dimetrodons aren't dinosaurs.
Stegosaurus means armored roof lizard.
Nice.
Ooh, I can get behind that.
And Stegosaurus was my favorite dinosaur, so I had to look that one up.
I didn't know this. Dimetrodons went extinct it went extinct at the middle of the Permian period. It didn't even make it to the end Permian mass extinction. So not only is it not a dinosaur, it didn't live at the same time as dinosaurs.
How does that rank on your list of favorite mass extinctions?
What, the end Permian?
Yeah.
Oh, that one's my favorite.
That one is your favorite. Okay. That's another t-shirt design we got to make is the ranking of the mass extinction.
Yeah. But I did find out Dimetrodon means 2 measures of teeth.
Huh.
Ooh. Like sharks.
Yeah. I always like Dimetrodons. They're the ones that have the big sail on its back.
Oh, okay. I wasn't picturing it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think listeners, we've explored some broad examples here. So let us know what species you think we should bring back to cause the most havoc to our ecosystem. But in the meantime, Jim has a treat for us.
Yeah, I always forget this every year. The Ig Nobel Prizes are generally, as far as I've seen, issued in September. And these are awards given out to scientific research that are a little bit offbeat. things that are fun and interesting and very silly. And so I have for you here today the 2023 Ig Nobel Prize winners, and we have them organized by category.
Yay.
So I'm going to start up here with chemistry and geology. And this goes to Jan Zalasiewicz for explaining why scientists like to lick rocks.
I just read it.
Apparently, this is a thing. Apparently, the scientists will lick rocks to learn more about them. Not even like to actually learn more about them, just to like help them get into the rock's mind, I guess.
I want to, right off the bat, I want to say I like that it's not studying whether or not scientists lick rocks or what effects licking rocks has. It's explaining why they like to lick rocks.
Yes, I do like that quite a bit.
Well, this is fun now. I didn't realize they started in 1991. That's when I was born.
It's been around for a bit, yeah. It's a fun little treat. Speaking of fun little treats, this is the Literature Prize, which goes to Chris Moulton et al. For studying the sensations that people feel when they repeat a single word many, 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 many times.
Good. We needed that.
Studying the sensations. That's like that. If you say a word over and over and over again, it starts to lose its meaning. You start like deconstructing the noise.
Yep.
That's fun.
Yeah. Next up is our Mechanical Engineering Prize, and this goes to Fei Yap et al. For reanimating dead spiders to use as mechanical gripping tools.
Wow.
I feel like I actually heard about this prior to the Ig Nobel Prize.
You're right. That does actually sound familiar.
I feel like I've had that thought before, and because we've talked before about how when spiders die, they contract because it's kind of like a hydraulic.
Yeah.
That's neat and a little creepy, but in a fun way.
Yeah. This one is a tour de force, so bear with me. The Public Health Prize goes to Seung Min Park for inventing the Stanford Toilet, a device that uses a variety of technology, including a urinalysis dipstick test strip, a computer vision system for defecation analysis, an anal print sensor paired with an identification camera, and a telecommunications link to monitor and quickly analyze the substances that humans excrete.
There is an episode of Scrubs.
Oh, yeah.
Where they have something at an expo called Dr. Toilet.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that.
That's literally what that is.
It is.
And they were joking.
I got to go back and watch Scrubs again.
It's always worth a rewatch.
Yeah.
Zach Braff and Donald Vyson just did a rewatch podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to check that out.
Yep. If you're going to rewatch it, might as well listen to the podcast too.
Yeah. Next up is the Communication Prize, speaking of podcasts, and this goes to Maria Jose Torres Piores for studying the mental activities of people who are expert at speaking backwards.
Huh.
I have done Hamlet backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Touche.
There's going to be a few people in the listeners that know what I'm talking about there.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Next up is the Medicine Prize, which goes to Christine Pham for using cadavers to explore whether there is an equal number of hairs in each of a person's two nostrils.
There can't be, but also there should be.
Yeah, this is the only one where I was like, I should check this out, and I didn't get a chance to, but I want to know. There's no way.
Yeah, now we have science to figure out.
Yeah. There's no way there's an equal number of hairs in each of a person's nostrils.
Because, I don't know, because we're mostly symmetrical, but also we've learned that there's an average of how many hairs are on a human being's head. So it's not always the same. So oh, that bothers me more than it should.
Well, next up is the Nutrition Prize, and this goes to Homea Miyashita and Hiromi Nakamura for experiments to determine how electrified chopsticks and drinking straws can change the taste of food.
That sounds fascinating to me.
Yeah, and not just because I'm like, oh, they're shocking people, because I don't think that's what they're trying to do.
That's probably not what they're doing.
But to me, when I think of like the taste of electricity, it's always kind of like a like a metallic, like tangy, acrid kind of taste. And I'm like, does that do anything?
Is it just running an electrical current into the food?
I wonder, yeah.
Because those are manual that's weird.
Yeah, but it can't be that much electricity because like they would electrocute them.
Well, especially a drinking straw.
Yeah,
right?
good point.
So I wonder if it's kind of like trying to do electrolysis on the food.
I'll bet you're right.
Too much hairy food.
There better not be hairy food.
There is. I'm sure
There's hairy food.
I've seen some of the things that French cuisine eats. There has to be hairy food.
I don't like that even a little bit.
I still don't.
Well, here's something a little more tame. The Education Prize that goes to Katie Tam et al. For methodically studying the boredom of teachers and students.
Nice.
I could have been in that study.
Yeah. Next up is the Psychology Prize, which goes to Stanley Milgram et al. For experiments on a city street to see how many passersby stopped to look upwards when they saw strangers looking upwards.
That's great.
I bet that was interesting.
That wasn't a scientific study. That was just somebody playing a practical joke.
Yeah, that was what's the name of that Canadian show? Just for Laughs or something?
Yeah. That's just a YouTube video.
Yeah. And then finally, we have our Physics Prize, which goes to Beito Fernando Castro et al. For measuring the extent to which ocean water mixing is affected by the sexual activity of anchovies.
I saw that one. I was hoping we were going to avoid it, but now I'm kind of curious what the results are.
I can't imagine that there's a world where that makes that much of a difference. But
why anchovies specifically?
I don't know. Maybe they form really big schools.
Well, that's my thing. Is like that. Yeah. It has to be that, or else why would you study it? So it's implying that
they
there's
must
so much
churn the
anchovies.
Water. Yeah. Like if you imagine like those really big schools of fish that like rotate in like a vortex.
Yeah.
Maybe. But there's so much ocean water.
There's got to be so much anchovies in the ocean. They got to be packed in there like sardines.
Huh.
See,
not packed in there like anchovies?
Nope.
Okay.
Schools of the European anchovy may reach 20 to 1,600 meters in length.
Okay.
And 60 meters in depth.
Well, if they're over 1 kilometer long, then okay. You know what? There's something to this.
Yeah. I guess we found our reasoning.
Yeah.
It made sense. It was a good thought.
Yeah. Like you said, there's no reason they would have studied this if it wasn't, something that was plausible. Huh. Well, congratulations to all the winners of the Ig Nobel Prizes this year. Hopefully I don't put it off for, 8 months next time.
Then we can only do one a year. So,
yeah, that's true. Just cram them back to back. It's all good.
Yeah. We got over 20 years, 30 years worth of backlog.
That's true.
Oh, yeah. We could go back in time.
As I understand it, I believe the 2023 one was the first prize ceremony that was back in person after the pandemic.
Huh.
And but I think they still webcast it. So I think you can catch the webcast on either YouTube or probably some other video sites as well. So if you want to see maybe a little bit more info and folks accepting their prizes, because on the Ig Nobel Prize site, it seems like the lion's share of the scientists named actually did go and accept their prizes.
Oh, neat.
You could check that out online.
Well, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I need to stop glancing at past years. There's some really interesting ones.
Throw one out there just to wrap us up.
Safety engineering in 2022. Magnus Gens for developing a moose crash test dummy.
I remember that one.
I remember that one.
We talked about mooses for a long time in that one. When we talk about mooses, we don't go halfway on this show.
We go full moose.
Beat me to saying it.
That's not even an expression. It's just it had to be said.
It could be. We could make it a shirt. It's been a long time since we made a new shirt.
We got to make some new shirts. We're getting some material here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll definitely do those again within a year, probably. But in the meantime, we have a second question that we should talk about this week.
All right.
And it's a doozy. Question 2 this week. What is computer hacking really like?
Boring.
Extremely boring.
Extremely boring. Okay, well, that's all the notes I have. I want to, well, let me start because I am the least computery person among us. And I had to shoehorn this in there because I have techie friends who get very irate, I'm going to say, when they watch a computer sequence in a movie or something and it's not like accurate to real life or something.
Yeah.
And there are definitely ones that I agree with that about, but to some extent, like we all just said, computer hacking is really boring in a similar way to the fact that a fight between a few people in real life is not very cinematic.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's kind of where most of my understanding about this is that it's very exaggerated. I have more things to say, but I'll open it up. But that's mainly it. It's not realistic because it has to be exciting in movies.
One of my favorite, I want to say it's from one of the CSIs. Just like, I can barely call it a misrepresentation because it is just so ridiculous. Where someone was like hacking into the CSI system or whatever. I don't even remember what they were hacking into, but like the two detectives were at the computer and the lady was like typing as fast as she could and it wasn't working. The hacker was hacking faster than she could type, I guess. And so the other guy came along and was typing on the same keyboard next to her. It's like, there are so many things wrong with that, but not the least of which is the fact that two people cannot type on the same keyboard at the same time. That's not a thing.
Yeah. So one of the things that I just really don't like seeing in that type of show is the idea of the faster you type, the more like it's like you're playing a video game.
Right.
It's like you're trying to navigate. And I'm like, I don't know if people disagree with me because I don't watch a lot of crime scene investigator type shows. But I always watch those scenes where somebody's clickety clacking on a keyboard and I'm like, this isn't exciting.
Yeah.
And they'll put all this music behind it and everything. And I'll be like, a person is just typing faster.
The two arguments. First, you're saying about how the typing faster doesn't work. That's always my complaint when any video game is in a movie, TV show, anything.
Oh, yeah.
I've played video games for 30 plus years now. That is not how a controller works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, typing, like, I see the argument of, like, typing faster, that's how we get hacking to work, but you're not going to type faster than a program. It's just, it's just going to be faster than you, period.
Yeah.
Super
and
fast coding.
If you've ever attempted to, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, sure, maybe they're, like, doing something in the command prompt. But even then, like, you type 3 or 4 words in the command prompt and hit enter, and then the command prompt does a thing. Like, you aren't constantly beating on the keyboard for like 15 minutes to make the command prompt do something.
I do have a little bit of a counterpoint to that. I mean, you are still 100% correct, but this is just anecdotal from my own experience. I used to get upset when I would watch people on computers using the keyboard so much because whenever I use a computer, more often than not, my hand is just on the mouse the whole time. But I've learned working various different jobs where you do specific tasks with computers. A lot of people will get more comfortable with like hotkey shortcuts and stuff, and they'll be on the keyboard more often.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting.
That's true.
Along that lines too, real quick, some pro esport gamers, like computers set up with hotkeys and keyboards, is absolutely mind-boggling to me. It's just how they can play an entire video game, like even an FPS with no mouse and it's just keyboard, and it's somehow better because they're playing at a professional level.
Yeah.
I like controllers.
Me too. I've gotten used to keyboard, but I still prefer controllers.
There's too many buttons on a keyboard.
I agree.
I think it all depends on what game I'm playing. Like, I don't think I could play Minecraft very well with a controller.
That's fair.
But I don't think I could play a platforming game very well on a keyboard, like a Mario or like a Metroid.
Yep.
I've tried in the past to like program it so you just have the few keys that do anything, and then picked up a whole keyboard and tried to play it with my thumbs. It doesn't work.
Nice. Oh.
I don't play as many video games as either of you, so I'm not a computer gamer by any means.
The not main, but like one of the biggest, I think, forms of hacking that you're going to run into out there in the real world is what you call phishing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And phishing is one of the ways that phishing works really, really well is when you get an email that looks pretty legitimate and it's like, I don't know, reset your password or click here to log into whatever site it is.
Yep.
And it brings you to like a dummy page that looks like your login, and you type in your name and password, and then they just have your name and password now.
Yep.
So I know that at where I work, there are a lot of like pretty frequent training sessions they'll email us that they're like, here's what to look for with phishing. And they like have very, very like rigorous spam filters, because phishing is like the primary way people get login information anymore.
Yeah.
And it works really well because people don't always pay attention to what they're clicking on. I
think that's interesting because we think of hacking as going in and interacting with a network or something. And that is a thing that can happen. You can write code to like do certain things, but a lot of what we think of as hacking or like internet scamming is very similar to just running cons with current technology. So it's like get someone's password and you've hacked into their account, but really you've just signed into their account.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
another interesting one along that lines is a middleman attack. So those are kind of like that's the whole big boom in VPNs. And this episode is sponsored by NordVPN.
I wish.
Man, I wish.
But that's what VPNs help protect against, is because you log into an unsecure site, which is kind of HTTP over HTTPS.
Mm-hmm.
So HTTPS is encrypting whatever you do on a website before it relays it elsewhere.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
The S stands for security.
Exactly. So a lot of middleman attacks will take advantage of unsecure sites to just go the kind of phishing route and get whatever you're typing in or whatever information you're providing and then bring it back to the hacker. So along that same lines, a lot of hacking attacks, if you want to word it that way, are just people using methods to get what they can the easiest way they can. Sometimes it takes a lot of effort. Sometimes it's just like, hey, you need to re-sign it. A text message that says, hey, you need to re-sign into this website. What's your address? What's your username and password? And you give it, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's still kind of hacking, but it doesn't feel like the jamming on a computer keyboard hacking.
Right. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about, because I happen to enjoy watching a lot of, they're called scam baiting videos.
Oh, okay.
That where it's a bunch of people that like will call or they'll respond to these emails and they'll deliberately respond to phishing schemes.
Right.
And it is entirely, some of them are just, we want to troll and waste their time, but some of them are legitimately getting information on the people running these scams and like getting people's money back.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool. And a thing that I've learned, a lot of people that seem to do it, maybe I'll post some links that we can put in the show notes, but I can't think of any names off the top of my head. But they're like reformed criminals who just know how to scam people, so they know how these scammers work. And something I've seen them do is they'll set up what is called a virtual PC. And it's just when this scammer, hacker, whatever, gets their login information, they'll sign on to what is a digital expendable operating system. Okay. And they can go in and do whatever they want. And they think that they're messing up somebody's computer, but really it's a computer that is designed to trap these people. So I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I didn't know about that.
Another YouTube channel that I really like for along that line stuff, and it's where I have actually learned some of my computer hacking stuff. Not that I am going to go out and hack computer. It's just interesting knowing how it works a little bit. But Modern Rogue is an interesting one that
I know them.
I've seen them do like the middleman attacks. And it's like, they were trying to see if a VPN really works. And like they had someone come in that like teaches hacking for like security purposes. This is how people do it. This is how we can, if we know how they attack, then we know how to prevent the attacks. Mm-hmm. So they were showing different stuff and different tools that they use to perform the middleman attacks. And they were showing that a VPN actually does prevent you. If you're on an unsecure site, then they can't see what you're doing.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want to say the two that I can think of, just so I don't leave the listeners hanging, are a YouTube channel called Scammer Payback and another YouTube channel called Jim Browning, who they kind of go into depth and show how the scammers operate and also kind of like catch them and get their money back and report them to police and stuff. So I like it. It's like as close as we have to like a secret agent superhero in real life kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. The other one that I thought was really interesting was just the idea of like bots attacking a website, not even like doing anything to the website, but what they call a DDoS attack, which I think is direct denial of service, where just so many different attempts to like access the site happen all at the same time that it just crashes that server. And that's not like, I mean, it is hacking in like the sense of like you're, causing a malicious action to a digital surface, but like it's also not very dramatic. Like you're not having a bunch of people at a computer typing away. It's just a thing you like click it and it just happens.
Yeah.
So, it's still very interesting because it's something that it's probably one of the most devastating things you can do to a website, at least in the short term. But it's definitely not as glorified as you might see on TV.
Another one that I find absolutely fascinating is RFID. So there's machines out there that can copy those shortwave radio signals and clone them. And so like if you have an RFID to log into somewhere to grant you access to a door or something, you can take that badge, copy that signal, and then make your own badge. And it's I don't want to say it's easy to do, but it's not overly complicated to do.
Yeah.
So a lot of, I don't want to say tourist traps, but like a thing to be aware of in big cities and whatnot are people with like little handheld scanners, and they'll bump into you and they can see where your wallet is or your purse, and they'll just, they can put the scanner right next to there and copy your cards. And then you can tap to pay, since that's a huge thing now. They can copy that signal and go to an ATM or go to a store and use that to withdraw money or make a transaction or something.
That's interesting because the whole tap to pay thing is supposed to be more secure because then you don't have to share the numbers on your card with people.
Right.
But like if you have computers that can just read them.
Right. It's one of those things, we solved one problem but created another.
Right.
But then since there's this now new problem, we have little RFID blockers that you can put into your wallet to help prevent that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there are ways around it but like you guys didn't even know about that is not a lot of people know that that is a problem, let alone that there is a solution to the problem.
Well, I'm glad it got taken care of.
got stressed out for a hot minute there, and then you got your solution.
I was thinking about, I guess late 90s, it was kind of popular among like, I don't know, techie teenagers who, no good Nick kind of ruffian types who I sound really old.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn, you do. But it was really popular to play pranks that were really more harmful than they should have been to like design computer viruses that would like lock people out of their computers or erase or corrupt their data.
Yeah.
And this was technically hacking, like designing viruses and stuff. And I always think about that, how, and this is maybe a hot take or more of a joke than anything else, but I used to always say, I understand if somebody wants to hack into my computer to get my passwords and my bank information, because then they're getting money. But like for the people who just, I want to make this thing that will erase all of the information on your computer and not benefit me at all, I'm like, that's worse to me. I don't know.
Right.
That's just malicious.
Yeah, that's just a mean thing to do.
It's just a mean thing to do. Like, if you're stealing my money, at least I get you want my money.
Yeah.
Like,
all 20 cents of
all
it, but I mean,
right.
still.
If you're trying to steal my money, I get you think I have money. But...
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing that I remembered about the RFIDs is one to beware of, is though I've seen a lot of places like busy cities that those tap to pay scanners, or where you insert your card into the card reader at a checkout, they'll actually have fake fronts on them that will just pull off.
The skimmers,
okay.
yeah.
Yep, and those skimmers, thank you. So those are another way that they go about stealing that RFID information to hack into whatever you need, whatever they're trying to get access to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have never seen one, but I think I got my card skimmed. Not even my card. It was actually my work card, which was nice because then my work took care of it for me.
Right.
But I think I got it skimmed at a gas station once. Didn't even realize it.
That's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. But luckily they took care of it.
Yeah, that's good.
All that I had on my card was a charge for Netflix Canada. So I was like, yeah.
I made out better than I did with my card. Apparently something happened at Chipotle and they got my card, and it was like $200 of Chipotle back to back.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, no, I didn't eat that much Chipotle. Why would I do that in like 1 day? So that was a hassle.
Yeah, I can imagine. One of the other ones that I think is funny, that's not really the word, but it is very ridiculous and it makes me laugh because it's so stupid, is when websites will store passwords as plain text. And then, like, it's not that hard to just pop in there and, like, find a bunch of passwords.
Yeah, I just learned about that today as well, researching this.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, and, like, it happens from time to time that like a fairly big site does this. And I'm like, you
should know better.
It's 2024.
Yeah.
The internet has like been around.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, that one is a pretty entertaining one to me personally. And then the last one that I wanted to mention was actually just like people doing bad and stupid things. Like when folks download stuff from the internet from sketchy places, and they don't think to check it, or like they don't check the source and they just run it on their computer, and then you get a virus, and it's not hard to do. Like, and checking it, like scanning it with something is not hard to do either, but people just skip it because they're like, whatever, it's fine. And that's how you get like one of those ransomware viruses that just locks you out of your computer.
Right. Well, people have a lot of faith in their operating systems anymor, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's built to block viruses, so I'm fine.
Mm-hmm. My mantra with any like technology or super high-tech homes or anything like that is I keep a shotgun next to my printer in case it makes a weird noise.
Don't get me started on printers.
Don't get me started on printers either. I just went through a whole HP fiasco at work, and I hate HP so much.
Oh, me too. HP's the worst.
They really are.
Printer ink is a scam.
Do better, HP.
Too. Yeah. I'm gonna get on. If we don't change the subject, I'm gonna start complaining about HP smart. It's gonna be bad.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting how broad of a definition we have for hacking.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about that until this conversation.
It also reminded me, you were saying about clicking on scams and whatnot, and I was like, there's a whole Futurama movie about clicking on scams and getting a virus.
You don't click on the scams.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what that Nigerian prince says. Don't click on it.
I forgot I was gonna make that joke way early on when Jim said these somewhat realistic sounding emails. And I'm like, oh, the ones from the Nigerian prince.
Yep.
Well, those aren't realistic
Those
sounding,
are not
but they still get people.
They still get, yep.
One of the things that sometimes, like when my wife and I are both working from home, and I will get to hear her doing like various anti-hacking training on her end with her company. And there's a lot of talk about what they call social engineering, where it's like someone will call you up and say like, oh, I'm, so-and-so with the IRS, or I'm so-and-so with your bank, and I need, these details. And people like don't stop to think, and this is why they often post on their websites, or they preface it, if you call them, it's like, we'll never call you and ask for your password or anything like that. But people don't think about that in the moment. They're just like, oh no, the IRS, I better give them my social. And then they have your social and they've stolen your identity, which is not technically hacking, but I feel like it falls under the same umbrella.
Well, you say that is that my mother got a virus on her old laptop that was along that lines. It was social engineering, that it was like the IRS has found this, or Department of Homeland Security found this illegal material on your laptop. And it's, you give us this, it was something about give $500 to this account or something, and we'll release it. We won't post. It was something really weird.
The ransomware.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was very much it sounded really legit until the like, give us money or we'll release. Yeah. And it's just like, right.
Yeah. There'll be things like, you are a criminal.
We found this criminal information about you. And it's fascinating to a degree that social engineering, and the lengths that they'll go and how clever it is. It's also extremely sad that like a lot of people initially freak out on that because they're scared. What did they find?
There are programs out there that will allow you to give remote access to your computer to someone. And here's disclaimer to the listeners. If you're listening to this show, you already know this, I'm almost certain, but never give anyone remote access to your computer.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And if you didn't know that, now you do.
Now you do, yeah. You like the technology can be useful if you want to share your computer with a friend or family member, but don't
someone
ever,
you trust.
Yeah, don't ever, if somebody says, I need to access your computer, they don't hang up.
Yep.
All right, listeners, let us know this week, what is your username and password? And if you have any thoughts on that or anything else we talked about this week, you can email feedback@vaguelyscientific.com. You can comment on our blog. You can like us on Facebook. You can tweet @vaguelysci or any of the other social media things. Hey, Jim, where do we get all these wacky questions?
Well, we get them from you, the listener, the person whose ear holes we're going into right now. And if you have a question that needs to be answered in a vaguely scientific manner, please email us at questions@vaguelyscientific.com. If you want to get our episodes the minute that they're released, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other cool places that podcasts like to hang out. And subscribing and leaving feedback really helps us out. And so does telling your friends.
Tell all your friends, but don't give them your username and password.
Yeah.
That's just for us.
That's just for us.
That's a secret between us and you.
Yeah, we won't tell.
Our vaguely musical intro is composed by Anthony Pizzelli. And don't forget to check out our merch store over at vaguelyscientific.threadless.com. Since we spent so much of the episode talking about it, we should probably make some new stuff.
Yeah. We can cut this if we don't, but hey, there might be some new merch in the store.
Hopefully.
There's only one way to find out, is if you go and check.
Yeah.
So thank you to Jonathan for being our guest this week.
Yeah, it's always fun to be here. Thanks for having me.
Always fun to be. I always thought, like, in some alternate dimension, you'd make a very good host to this show.
Yeah.
Maybe someday we'll find out if that happens.
We should introduce you to our friend Mark. I bet that he and you would get along pretty well. You two would get along.
Yeah, he sounds like a really chill guy.
Yeah.
For Vaguely Scientific, I am Derek.
I'm Jim.
And I'm Jonathan.
And oh no, I'm being eaten by a T-Rex.
Oh no, toodaloo. See you at the other end of the digestive tract.
And and then sign off, conclusion. And that's the episode. Are there any questions?
Yes, actually. Is that a lot of background noise?
I heard something.
Okay.
It sounded like a sliding door moving.
It was a thunderstorm. I can close the window.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Okay.